So while I'm waiting, just letting her settle at the mounting block. So Cora's pathology, she has a calcification on the suspensory on the right front. That's the leg that she's been lame on. And so that's been the area I've been protective of. But like you saw in the last ride, her head goes way up, her head goes way down, her head goes way up. Can you hear me from there okay? Okay. Head goes way up, head goes way down. And it was taking her a while to get control over her speed. So just this past week while I was riding her, I changed the technique a little bit, which is what I'm going to show when I ride. But basically, theoretically, it should have made her more uncomfortable if I take a little overbend of the neck. What that always does is push the thoracic spine into what's called inverted rotation. So the bones would go too far to the right if I bend her neck too far to the left, which theoretically should make her load the right front more and make her more uncomfortable. So I avoided doing that unless I felt unsafe, like taking the neck around. If I feel unsafe, I use that technique to turn them until they slow down. So it's not bending them to a stop, it's not that. You just use one rein to put them on a turn and you wait for them to get control of their speed. But when you do that, you're going to get a lot of pressure on the inside seat bone because the spine is going to go the wrong way. And so I didn't want to do that with her by protecting the right front. I thought, don't do that, right? But when I did that this week, it worked better. She actually liked that technique, which interestingly is more of a technique to help them find the proper use of the hind legs. It kind of forces the inside hind up and underneath in a light adduction, but the consequence is the inverted rotation, so it's not ideal. It's not ideal either way, but I'll show in this ride, she'll still do it. But what was very interesting was by her having a better response to more of what I would consider kind of a hind end organization technique versus what I've been riding, because I don't feel unsafe, so I let her go at whatever speed, walk and trot. But by doing it that way and addressing the front end issue, the progress was slower. When I started to address it with more of a hind end technique, the progress got faster. So even though the x-ray and the lameness is showing up on the right front, her response is telling me that this is more important to her rather than that. And we don't always know how it fits together, but letting the horse tell us, that's why it's so important to listen to the feedback through the response they give you and the behavior. And so the behavior is just communication. It's not good or bad. They're not behaving badly. If they're struggling, they're telling you they're struggling. If they're defensive, they're telling you what you're asking them to do is not appropriate. Not that it's right or wrong, it's just not appropriate for that horse that day. So we'll see what we get. Okay. So, and I put the camera on the side because the past couple of rides doing this, there was a lot of little spontaneous turns. So the rule in my head is, if she's long and low, I don't mess with her. But what I'm using this technique to do, which is also a technique I might use if they're unsafe, is a little bit of overbending the neck and then waiting for them to slow down. What I'm using that same technique, but now I'm using it to interrupt the extension. So as soon as her head goes up, even there I didn't need to do it, but as soon as her head goes up like that, she's in extension, she's over contracting the back muscles. So I'm gonna work to the left a little bit, but oh, and go ahead and track me for this part and then I'll stop speaking. But am I all the way in the camera?
Yeah, I just have it zoomed out enough where you can see all of you, the whole circle.
Okay. As long as the whole circle's in there, because we drift all over the place with this technique.
Yeah, the entire circle's in there.
Okay. So here, it's not severe extension, but as soon as she puts her head up, I'm just gonna take the inside rein, loosen the outside rein, and I'm just gonna plant my hand on my thigh, or I could plant it on the saddle pad or the saddle, and I'm gonna wait until I feel her there, pull down. So I'm only using this technique to interrupt the head up, right? So every single time she goes into extension, I'm gonna shorten one rein until she pulls down. So what it's helped me do is get her more consistently here, which is where she starts to lengthen the muscles rather than shorten them. And it's where she can begin to control her own speed and body from her hind legs and her back, right? So the first thought was, I'm just going to interrupt this chronic sort of thing that she can't control, flying her head way up in the air. And even when I made her straight, she would put her head down, but like you saw last time, it's pretty violent up, pretty violent down, and not really getting consistently. The first consistency I need out of her body is that she can walk at any speed, very light rein, with her neck in length, her neck muscles, right? So even if I let her head be long and level, right now it's not truly a lengthening of the muscles. She shortens the muscles a little bit, even if she's long and level. So what I want to see to make sure I've done it thoroughly is that. But I want to see that consistently. So every couple of strides, she tries to go back into extension. Now, when I do this, she's going to push up more on one seat bone or the other. The inside typically, sometimes the outside, right? So I'm waiting, I have to balance myself during that because she's going to push up on one seat bone more than the other, because that much flexion of the neck creates a problem in her back, right? I thought if I did that, I would create more pain, so I haven't done it, right? But you can see she's actually doing better, because one of the side effects of overbending the neck is the inside hind leg is going to come a little bit deeper under the body. What she's been telling me is that's the more important part for her, which is against the theory and what we know from the vet, right? Because by doing this, theoretically, she would get more wound up. She would get more defensive. And you see it's helping her calm down, right? And what I really need from her is just that consistently. So even if she puts her head up a little bit, I just gently take one rein, as little as possible, but as much as necessary, until I feel her pull down. Once she pulls down on the rein, I let her go and we go straight. Walk, halt, trot, doesn't matter, same thing, right? So what I've been able to get by using that particular technique, which is not theoretically a good one, is more consistently keeping her out of the most damaging use of her body. And you see, even before I take one rein, the rides we had this week, she's already better. I'm not having to take the rein. She's not as extreme with her head up, which means the head low will also become less extreme. She's going to find the middle place with her neck as she starts to control her speed better. And I don't care the reason. Like there, it was a little bit of a distraction. She popped her head up to look. I don't care. I'm just going to keep taking one rein, right? And wherever we are, we make a little circle until she pulls down. You could do the same thing and hold it longer to actually influence the speed. So what I could do, if I really need her to slow down sooner, is I could take the one rein, and when she pulls down, I don't let go yet. I just hold the one rein until she's pulling down and there, she slowed her speed, right? So it's the same thing, it's just holding it a little longer for a different reason. So I'm gonna play with that today. I haven't done that yet.